everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Fitness Education Series produced by the Australian Fitness Academy. It's like progressive overload for your brain. I'm your host, Tom Rock, and today's episode, shout out to my mum for this one. It's a great little topic. We were having dinner the other night and it came up. It was fun to talk about. So she's recently doing some bar classes at the local gym. So bar, for those who don't know, it's sort of a blend of ballet, Pilates, and yoga, and they run these at some studios and some leisure centres, but they'll run these bar classes. So she's been getting into them lately, which is really, really cool. And I've always said any exercise is good. So yeah, find something you enjoy, and it's always going to be beneficial to stay consistent and do that. Anyway, we were chatting away and she was keen to get back into some of the resistance training that she'd been doing, but she sort of hadn't had a lot of time lately, so she'd been just doing a couple of bar classes a week and not doing any resistance. But she's been feeling stronger in all her movements in the bar class, whether it's the squatting type movements and things like that, or hip-based movements, single leg movements, all this sort of stuff. Feeling stronger, so she was saying she's excited to get back to the gym and see how strong she feels doing the resistance training, given she's getting a lot stronger, more stable at bar, doing more reps, feeling easier, that sort of thing. And it was a very interesting chat because bar is generally a lot of body weight movement. So it's made up of some isometric movements where you're doing a lot of holds, or some sort of a lot of high rep movements with either body weight or sometimes lightweight, maybe 1 or 2 kilos, or maybe some bands. So it's a generally body weight exercise and doing high reps. And the interesting component of this is when it sort of comes down to exercise specificity. So we're getting all these adaptations and making you feel potentially better from bar, improving muscular endurance, maybe joint stability, all those stabilizing muscles in the hips potentially getting stronger, and the muscles getting developing the endurance capacity. So those type 1 muscle fibers are getting more efficient and better. So there is some level of obviously strength development, but it's also a big component of muscular endurance. Whereas if we look at resistance training and the general idea behind or goals of or benefits of resistance training in terms of the muscles is going to be hypertrophy and strength, which are more geared towards the type 2 and type 2B muscle fibers or type 2 muscle fibers. So in essence, even though she feels stronger at bar, she might get back to the gym and realize that she's actually lost her strength in the gym. Now, that'll still come back relatively quickly. If you haven't had that long off, you'll do probably 3 or 4 weeks and you'll start to see that strength improvements again and start to build back up to where you were. But just because she can now do her legs feel stronger at bar doesn't necessarily mean that will carry back over to the gym and she can just jump back in straight back to where she was on at the leg press, for example, or the goblet squats or whatever exercise we're doing. It's not necessarily going to be a straight transfer across. And it's a very it's a good conversation to bring out for this podcast in terms of specificity of training and whether it's going from different training program styles or different training styles. You're not going to be able to generally take off from where you left off if you've gone back to a previous version. Same as taking a bit of a break from training over 3 or 4 weeks. If you have an injury or you have time off away from the gym or on holiday, whatever it is, and you come back, you're not going to be able to jump back into the program where you're at. And that's where our adaptations are generally specific to the activity we're doing. If we do a heap of bar classes or yoga classes or Pilates classes, we're going to get stronger or more efficient at that exercises we're doing. And if I'm doing light weights, longer repetitions, that's going to be the same thing, or it's going to be different to the heavyweight low reps that I'm doing more in the resistance training. And because we're training different motor patterns, but different muscle fibers generally hitting those different fitness components, we're not going to get direct carryover from those bar classes to our resistance classes. Now, if you mix them both and you're doing bar and resistance, you're going to get good benefits all around, and you'll still see some results from resistance, and you'll get all the enjoyment from bar and the stability and single leg stuff that you're getting at bar. But then resistance training is going to help maintain, build that muscle mass, again, we're good for. We can go through all the benefits of resistance training, such as bone mineral density, all those sorts of things are really going to be there. So it's a as much as you can. I think mixing training types can be good. You don't want to obviously water it down too much, because you'll be doing too much of you'll be splitting it across too many activities, and then you don't really get adaptations or great adaptations from anything, which is fine in general. If you've got a specific goal, you probably need to train more specifically. If general health and fitness is good, 1 bar class, a couple of resistance training sessions a week, or 2 bar classes, 2 resistance training sessions a week is going to be everything you need. And it comes down to programming and total program management and weekly volume load and things. But generally for resistance training, like 1 time a week, 1 full body a week, we may be able to sort of maintain where we're at. We probably won't see much improvement. But if we can get at least 2 resistance training sessions in a week, 2 full body resistance training sessions, we're going to be able to see progression through that, obviously, as long as our program's good intensities, all that sort of thing. So if you say a minimum is 2 resistance training sessions a week, anything outside of that is really, really good. And if you want to focus on something else, whether it's more cardiovascular fitness and getting that up, you could strip the resistance down to once a week and sort of try to maintain that muscle mass as much as possible while focusing on potentially a new goal. And that's how you would manage it. But I think it was just a really good chat about what happens if I spend all this time away from resistance training. Even though I'm exercising and doing something else, it's not necessarily going to transfer straight back to the resistance training I'm doing. It may help in the long run. So all this stability and muscular endurance that she's built up in Barre, once she does incorporate resistance back into her program for a period of time, you might see a lot of transfer from that joint stability to improve her strength and ability to apply force in, say, a leg press or a squat or something like that, or bench press, for example. The stability might be there, so you may be more efficient at applying force. So in the long run, you can definitely be stronger, but you might not find that initial strength when you go straight back. It will take a period of time to develop. So you'll definitely develop some things that may carry over to improving your ability to lift weights in a resistance training program, but your muscular strength and hypertrophy will likely have dropped off a little bit since you stopped resistance training. But yeah, very, very cool discussion and interesting topic for people who are sort of mixing goals, and it's okay to definitely try new things and do new goals. It's really great for building new skills and learning new exercise. And again, there will be carryover in terms of stability and things from a lot of different movements in different exercise modalities. So yeah, definitely an advocate for it, rather than always just doing the same thing day in, day out and missing components of other modalities of exercise. But yeah, consider how your overall program looks is important, and how much you can fit in is important. But yeah, it always chop and change, but you can't always expect to jump back into what you were doing previously and be at the exact same level. You definitely can build back up to it relatively quickly, especially if you're still being active and moving. But yeah, it could take a period of weeks just to sort of build back into it and relearn those motor patterns and get those muscles working again, and then start to see that hypertrophy and strength gains from there. But yeah, good little chat, a good little display of, I think, exercise specificity and training different fitness components. But yeah, really, really cool. But I hope you got a bit out of that. Thanks for the topic, Mum. If you do have any other questions, anyone else who's listening, any topics you'd like me to cover, any questions you'd like to get my thoughts on, send an email to tom@afa.com.au, and more than happy to cover off anything you guys would like to hear me chat about. Other than that, have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you all soon.